What's going on, guys? Today we're doing the best taxi squad stashes for Dynasty Football 2026. These are the guys who are going to go very late in your drafts, probably UDFA picks that you're going to want to throw on your taxi squad for long-term investments. Jaden, I think you're going to start us off here at number one.
All right, number one, I know everybody in the Dynasty community right now is debating whether Caleb Douglas or Chris Bell will start for the Dolphins, but why not talk about Kevin Coleman Jr.? He's honestly one of my favorite taxi squad stashes this season, drafted round five by the Dolphins. I absolutely loved him as a prospect before the draft, and this landing spot makes it even more likely that he's gonna be a breakout type of taxi squad player. He finds himself in a wide open receiver room, as we know, only has to compete with Malik Washington and Tutu Atwell for the starting slot receiver role in Miami. I think he can easily win this job after training camp. Like it wouldn't surprise me at all. Analytically as well, I think this guy's very underrated, very good at contested catches, which is surprising for a guy his size. He's just kind of that slot only receiver, but he really loves going, over the middle. He doesn't care about taking those hits across the middle. Like he really plays larger than his small frame would suggest. He has kind of only an average 40, but it's still pretty good, 4.49. He's very explosive. He's got those great ball skills as well. Catches almost everything. He also has a very high target share across four different schools, which is pretty high for a slot type of receiver. And while he does have a late breakout age, he's kind of an older rookie. I think he has the tools to immediately become the starting slot receiver for Miami. He projects as kind of that Josh Downs style weapon. I think he also has a very high punt return average as well, so that'll ensure that he'll stick on the roster, develop under Bobby Slowick's system, and have all the chance to be that starting slot receiver for the Miami Dolphins.
Awesome. Next up, I'm going with Garrett Nussmeier. Here's a guy who's projected as a top 10 pick this year, slid all the way to the seventh round of the Chiefs. Obviously, terrible draft capital, terrible landing spot. However, he played last year with a cyst in his upper neck and shoulder, and that was not diagnosed until I believe right at the end or after the season. It was in his throwing side, I believe. That would be very, very hard for anyone to manage. It was extremely painful. He dropped from 29-12 last year to 12-5. And LSU had an absolutely terrible season, but I think it was a little bit more than their quarterback having an undiagnosed injury. Brian Kelly had a terrible year, completely lost the locker room. And he's the guy, he's the kind of guy who's had poor reactions to medical issues in the past, and I'll just leave it at that. But I think LSU is very happy to be rid of Brian Kelly, and I think Garrett Nussmeier is as well. I feel so sorry for him, honestly, that this
Yeah.
happened to him. I feel like a lot of it was coaching as well as this injury. I feel like he was a projected top 10 pick for a reason. Almost 30-12, and he was a really good pocket passer, showed a really amazing advanced understanding of the game with his dad being an offensive coordinator for the Saints. Really, really high level processor. I mean, he's not very big. I believe he's only 6 foot flat. Doesn't have the hugest arm in the world, but I think he still has enough high level athleticism to be an NFL pocket passer. No real rushing upside there, but I still think he's a really good quarterback prospect, really, especially if you look at his tape from his junior season. I really, really like the guy, and I think that he was given a raw deal. And we've seen a lot of quarterbacks who are drafted and has come to like really good teams and they back up for a few years and they eventually earn their starting spot or become wanted. Maybe a Jimmy Garoppolo kind of situation happens where, especially with Mahomes with the ACL injury, not saying he's going to play right away. I do think Fields will be given a chance. But I just think you never know. Nussmeier, I think if he gets in the game, he'll prove that he's an NFL quality starter. And I think he will get that shot eventually, especially for a guy who's almost certainly going to go undrafted in your leagues. I think he's a great stash given that he had top 10 draft capital and he had a medical issue that has been completely taken care of at this point. That was the real reason behind his draft slot.
Yeah, and I can't believe that the Commanders took someone named Athan Kaliakmanis over Garrett Nussmeier. Garrett Nussmeier.
No,
It makes no sense to me. There must have been some sort of like medical red flags or
yeah,
I don't know, but I think Nussmeier was a fantastic, like I thought he would be round four type of
yeah.
quarterback. Like I thought
I
he could be like competing for the Steelers like number one quarterback job.
Oh, I agree. I like him as a prospect much more than Drew Aller. I just think there's so many times that NFL GMs are like, "Oh, how high did he jump? Oh, how long are
Yeah.
his arms?" And then a huge talent ends up sliding. I think Ruben Bain is a prime example of it. And I think there's a video even like the laws of power and the guys with shorter arms are better as pass rushers because they generate more power that way. I just think so much is on, oh my God, the intangibles. This guy can throw it 70 yards. How good are they at football? How can they read the field? I think it's
Yeah.
really ironic for a sport where the greatest player ever in it was maybe one of the most unathletic athletes of all time, who ran
Yeah.
like a 5.5 at his pro day as a quarterback. I just think it's ridiculous, especially for the quarterback position, to be hung up on intangibles over production and play.
Next up, I have running back for the Minnesota Vikings. He went in round six, Claiborne. I believe that's how you say it. This guy was a top 10 running back for me pre-draft, and he ended up going obviously to Minnesota in the sixth round, which is honestly a kind of a perfect spot for him to get creative under Kevin O'Connell's offense. I really like how O'Connell calls the plays. I think he's a really creative play caller. He'll be able to get him out into space, get him doing what he's really good at. He kind of reminds me of kind of a Devon Achan in a way, just kind of that level of quickness that pops up immediately on tape. And the wildest thing about his college production, maybe, is that he was running behind literally the worst offensive line of any running back prospect this year. So when you see he averaged over 5 yards per carry, you got to realize that it was basically just off of pure instinct, incredible vision. Like he wasn't getting the holes like a Mike Washington Jr. would be getting. And now, obviously, the analytics are not too kind for him. Like he's got some red flags. He's got a legit fumble problem. I really think he's kind of similar to a Keaton Mitchell in a way. I think he could be a better version of a Keaton Mitchell. And I think that's exactly what the Vikings need on their offense right now. They just have kind of that super old Aaron Jones, who's probably going to be out the door in a year. And then Jordan Mason, who's really not the fastest guy. He's more of that bruiser type of running back. And he's also entering the last year of his contract. So I wouldn't be shocked if Claiborne has a real role on this team by next season. I think he is a really great taxi squad stash if you can get this guy off waivers at the end of your draft, or like if you have a fourth round of your dynasty draft, take him there. I would think that's a great pick.
A lot of pre-draft speculation on the Vikings really needing a running back and wanted to pick one high.
Yeah.
Didn't really end up landing one, so I think there is real opportunity there because they are desperate for one, like you mentioned. Next up, we're going with Cole Payton. He was drafted in the fifth round of the Eagles. Here's a guy who was getting a lot of pre-draft hype. I could see him even going a little bit higher than this based on how people were talking about him. People were really hyped about this guy in Dynasty because he came from North Dakota State, the football factory. There's been some really good prospects coming out of the past few years, quarterback prospects, kind of hot and cold. But I think it still is a really great school, and he didn't start until his last year. But funnily enough, in 2023, as a redshirt junior, sorry, he had 600 yards rushing, and he only completed 15 passes through 27. So he was being used kind of as a Taysom Hill, kind of wildcat-ish. He even had some receiving yards. So it really showed this guy has a lot of athletic prowess, a lot of potential to be, a dual threat quarterback, potentially, if he can figure out, the passing, of course. Had almost 3,000 yards in 13 games in his last year, 16-4 TD to INT ratio, and another 750 yards rushing. So, again, not the best passing volume, but not terrible. He really did show some development there, and a true dual threat back, or true dual threat quarterback here. People really, really love this guy. Super excited about him. I honestly think he's going to get drafted in a lot of your drafts, but probably really late. If he slides out, he's the easiest UDFA pick to me, because I find that often like late round quarterbacks and tight ends are really great and maybe a little bit better of an investment sometimes than the running backs and wide receivers that can be like the way, way, way down the board. So I think that Cole Payton is a really, really great investment with his dual threat ability. I feel like his floor is like, believe you said to me, is like probably a Taysom Hill, but
Yeah.
I believe his ceiling, I don't know, maybe like what we expected Justin Fields to become. I don't want to, because there's not too many huge examples of dual threat, and I don't want to call him like a Lamar or Jaden Daniels, but
Yeah.
I think he could be like a low-level dual threat QB, like a quality starter at his ceiling. I think there's a lot of potential there for Cole Payton.
Definitely agree. Loved Peyton coming out. It's not the greatest landing spot because they already have Tanner McKee, they already have Jalen Hurts. But I think that if this guy shows out in training camp or something, they trade McKee because there's been a lot of buzz. People are interested in
Yep.
him. And Jalen Hurts hasn't been showing the greatest passing ability lately. He's really divided people in that locker room, according
Yep.
to reports. So I think Peyton has a chance for sure. He'd be a fantastic stash as well on your taxi. Next up, I have Eli Heidenreich. He's running back, classified as a running back by the Steelers. He's been my RB9 in this class pre-draft. I think if you're looking for the next Austin Eckler, this is your guy. Steelers, they have a wide open running back room. They only have Rico Dowdle and Jalen Warren. And after losing Kenny Gainwell, I think he might just be the perfect replacement for him. I think that, he only had 77 carries in his final season, which shows that he really needs to continue to develop as a running back. But he has the frame of a Christian McCaffrey. Like they're almost identical frame, 6 foot, 206 pounds, 4.44 speed. And this is someone who has insane yards per route run numbers, 4.73 yards per route run, which it would be better than any running back and wide receiver in this class. Heidenreich is a fantastic option for you if he somehow doesn't get drafted in your league. Obviously, he's not the greatest running back yet. He's really going to need to develop there, but I think that if he can prove that his route tree is more than just seams and overs and against bad competition, and he can prove that he can be an in between the tackles type of runner, he's a massive deep sleeper for your taxi squad.
So next stash, we're going with Max Klare. He was picked in the late second round to the Rams. I feel like some people were surprised about this, but if you watch his Purdue tape, a lot of people were not surprised. He led Purdue in catches, receptions, yards, all that good stuff, and then he transferred to Ohio State. There are only very few tight ends have been able to manage to do that on their teams. He only had around 1.8 yards per route run this year, which is still pretty average for tight ends, but he was really a little bit below average, but still not too bad. He was pretty buried behind Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate on that depth chart. He really wasn't getting a lot of opportunities because of the passing game that he was in. Sam was really looking to bomb the ball down the field to those wide receivers, but he did get drafted in the second round for a good reason. He's very, very good route runner, really good pass catcher, amazing receiving tight end, maybe one of the best receiving prospects tight ends in this class, and it is a very deep class. Now, he does land in LA behind Parkinson and Higbee. Higbee's been there forever, and Parkinson, I don't think, is going to stop you from drafting or stashing this player. I
Terrence
don't think he's the
Ferguson
guy.
too.
Terrence
Yeah,
Ferguson as well. Sorry. So there's
yeah.
three.
Three
There's so
tight
many tight
ends.
ends.
Yeah.
But a lot of them are older, coming in the last couple of years of their contract. Again, I don't think Higbee, Ferguson, Parkinson, like Parkinson did have that incredible grab, but none of them have had like eye-popping numbers or been these amazing tight ends. So it is a very, very crowded room, which is why I feel like he's going to slide down draft boards despite getting that second round draft capital. And as we've seen, like investing in second round tight ends in the later third round in the UDFA is a lot better investment than getting the wide receiver 15. You get like the tight end 4. So much better investment there, especially with Sean McVay. Clearly believes in the guy to pick him this early. You know he's going to get an opportunity eventually with that draft capital sliding down the boards because of guys like Kobe Parkinson. That shouldn't stop you from taking this guy. So Max Klare, great receiving prospect. Watch his Purdue tape, and you'll understand what we're talking about.
Yeah, I had him honestly as my tight end 3 in this class. I think he's a really, really high floor type of tight end. He's 4.6 speed as well, which is really good for a tight end. I just think he has shown that he can be an alpha tight end in an offense. And, if McVay falls in love with you, I think he's a guy that has really high upside. I think this
Yeah.
guy could be kind of a Dalton Kincaid type of tight end in the future. Um, and I think that's since he got round 2 draft capital, that's exactly what I was looking for with him. And I think that since they invested so heavily in him, that he's probably going to be given the shot to be that
Yeah.
alpha tight end in the offense. And they really were looking for kind of that alpha tight end. They were interested in Brock Bowers a couple years back. I
Yeah.
think they wanted a tight end last year as well, but they weren't able to find a really good tight end. So I think Max Clare could potentially be that option for them. All right, finally, let's talk about CJ Daniels here. He went to the LA Rams as well, just like Max Klare, but he went in the sixth round. Kind of later draft capital than I was expecting out of him. I thought he'd probably be more like round 5, maybe round 4, but he's that classic high character guy. And this guy has video game type of like Mike Evans contested catch numbers, 80%. And he's entering the league as a 24-year-old rookie, though, which is maybe a reason why he dropped so much in the draft, but he also has a bit of an injury history too. But here is why you should stash him on your taxi squad. The landing spot is huge. He could be the next heir apparent to Devonte Adams. There's not too much behind, Puka and Devonte in that offense. Devonte is turning 34. Sean McVay just signed an extension. I think you saw how many red zone targets and touchdowns that Devonte Adams had last season. I think they could be going to CJ Daniels as soon as next season. He could take over that red zone target hog role. That's exactly what he's built for. He only had 3 drops in his 6-year career in college as well, which is just unreal. And I think if Matthew Stafford just puts it simply in his area, he's most likely coming down with it. And it wouldn't be a shocker to me. It wouldn't be a shocker to me if by next season he is that Devonte Adams type of role in the offense.
Yeah, I always love when a player gets drafted to the Rams because you're like, if you find yourself a role, McVay is going to scheme you up targets. So you love to see that.
Yeah. And I had a guy debating me on Twitter about CJ Daniels like a month before the draft. I wasn't like the biggest fan of him, like analytically, prospect wise. I mean, that's probably why he went 6th round. But
Yeah.
the guy was debating me quite heavily on him. He's like, look at his tape. He's got the greatest highlights ever. Like he catches everything. Yes, like he catches everything. He does have some red flags. I was trying to tell him, but it's Twitter, right? So I don't know.
Some
I don't
people,
know. I think the landing spot really helps his case for sure. I think landing with the Rams is just the best thing that could have happened for Daniels.
yeah, I think it's funny when people have such strong like anti opinions on players like these, where it's like, yeah, like they went late. These are high upside shots. Like, you know what I mean? Most of
Yeah.
these players probably won't work out, but a couple of these guys mentioned in this videos might be stars. So that's why they're worth stashing them.
Exactly. Or like Dynasty people would say, the next Puka Nacua, the next Bucky Irving.
Exactly. The next
Yeah.
ASV, all that.
Yeah. All right, guys. Those were the Taxi Squad players that we really think you guys should target on your Dynasty rosters. The next Puka, the next Bucky Irving, right after your waivers open up after the draft. Just, put all your fab on these guys. Like, spread them out evenly among them. Cole Payton, CJ Daniels, Heidenreich, Claiborne, like all these guys, you got to target them immediately. A lot of these guys are kind of different high floor, some are high ceiling. It kind of depends on your build, but I think for sure all rebuilders should be targeting these guys. And I hope you guys like this video. Subscribe. We're really trying to grow the channel. We'd really appreciate your support, and we'll see you in the next video.